So we're going to talk about motivation, and this is something that had been suggested as a topic really quite a while ago. When I asked at the end of last session what would be of interest, and well, this is kind of okay, motivation, that sounds good. I didn't know what I would find, because I always do some research before we have our meeting and kind of try to prepare for this. And I found that, actually, let me see if I can find the first place, because I had definitions and things. Okay, I thought that the definitions were interesting. That motivation, the reasons one, and this was from, I think, Merriam-Webster, the reason or reasons one has for acting or behaving in a particular way, a motivating force, stimulus or influence, incentive or drive. Okay, and then someplace else, I saw motivation is the desire to act in service of a goal. And I think this is really what's important, is the goal piece here. It's the crucial element in setting and attaining our objectives. Okay. And then this other one, and somebody who attributed it to Stephen Pressfield, I don't know who he is, but when the pain of not doing something outweighs the pain of doing it, that's motivation. And I thought,
that one I get.
What?
I understand that one.
Yes, I think most of us do. Like, okay, if I don't do this, this is what's going to happen if I do this.
Right.
And I will get later on too about whether you're looking for the positive or the negative. Like whether you're looking to see whether a goal is going to enhance things for you, or whether it's just going to avoid some kind of a calamity. And how you should kind of like. I guess, outline your goals for yourself, Okay. So motivation, there's an awful lot to cover, because a lot of people have different ways of structuring it, analyzing it. These are the essential pieces, and somebody else has to be other essential pieces or whatever. But one of the things I saw was understanding motivation can help improve the efficiency of people as they work toward goals. Yes. And I'm trying to really emphasize in this session more motivating ourselves and not looking forward to, not looking at motivating others. Like a lot of things in the business books and things like that tend to deal with, how to motivate other people to do things, I think we really should be thinking about like how we're going to get ourselves. And I think for most of us, that's probably our emphasis now at this time of life, is to, getting our goals accomplished, not trying to get other people to do what we want them to do. One of the things that I had seen about, why take the time to understand motivation was improving overall well-being and happiness. So I think that's something to keep in mind, thinking about, doing things that are going to make you happier, more serene, more comfortable and in your life. Okay. All right. There are things that some motivation is very basic. You're talking about basic drives, basic, some people call them drives, forces, instincts, or whatever. But like, for instance, biological needs. Okay, you're going to be pretty motivated if you're really, really thirsty. You're going to find yourself a glass of water or lemonade or something to have, because like you're dying here. So that's something that's very motivating. So almost any kind of biological urge becomes, it becomes more insistent with time, and it is extremely motivating. That's not something that we can really, deal with. You can't really regulate that for yourself too much, except to keep them from becoming an issue, I suppose. Emotional issues. So some of our motivations stems from emotional issues, like I want to be happier. I want to do this because, and this is those. We'll talk about intrinsic and extrinsic later, but I want to be happier. I'm going to do this because it's going to make me happier. Maybe even I'll do this because it'll make somebody else happier and they'll love me or whatever. But it can also be emotional. You can be motivated because you want to get back at somebody. That's also an emotional, motivation too. Like, I'm going to show this one, or I'm going to show that one, or this one's going to be sorry. But I'm not really going to emphasize those negative emotional motivations tonight. Social, and I think we all understand social motivations. Like you want, not only do you want the respect of other people, and you're going to do this because it makes you look good to other people, but you also want to you also do some things because you need social connections. Like I tend to call up my friends and say, when do I to lunch? So that I'll go out to lunch a couple of times a month because, and because that's very motivating to me to spend a couple of hours with a friend in a restaurant and kind of reconnect. So there's all kinds of like social relationships that that we're motivated to foster. And then there's the cognitive. Now, this is something that I had never really considered much, but it's to learn something. So that that can be pretty motivating. Like you really want to know how to do this, or you want to really understand. Like if I really was motivated to understand the Greeks, I would have read the Odyssey, but I didn't. So I'm not going to be at Susan's book club this month. But but think about it, like how many times you spend time doing something. And my husband's a great example because he's going to fix it himself. I'm like, okay, we could call the plumber, we could call the washing machine repairman or whatever, but he's motivated to figure out how to do it, to learn, and to be able to do it like the next time, or just have a better understanding of how things work. So that can be a pretty motivating thing, the cognitive, and it's really not something that I had really considered much before. So that's of interest. Now, anything you read about motivation, it's going to talk about the two kinds of motivation: extrinsic and intrinsic. Okay, so, and it's really important to understand those because extrinsic motivations come from the outside. So they are things like a salary. That's pretty motivating. Or some kind of a bonus that you get, or if I do this, this is going to happen, or I'll get reward points, so I'll I'll be in the club kind of thing. So it's social recognition. It's actually I've written some of these down. Okay, like trophies, money, social recognition, praise. Okay, mm-hmm. So that's for something coming from outside of you, but that that you want. But intrinsic motivation is just like I said, if for instance, if cognitive, learning something, finding out something. I do a lot of crosswords, as everybody who knows me knows, but that's that's something I do for me. That's really very motivating for me to be able to sit down and do crosswords for an hour or something. That would be like death to somebody else, maybe, but but it's motivating to me. So learning is one, puzzle, some kind of activity that you enjoy. Sometimes it's a particular environment. Like some people like to spend time outside, like hiking or walking, or somebody else would say shoot me. But if you like to be in the out of doors, or if you like to to be in a particular environment, that's also an intrinsic motivation to do something. Or to be in a particular place, and like I said before, the desire for social interaction, that's really an intrinsic thing. Like if you need to be with your family, to your friends or whatever, and that's important for you to have those connections and to maintain those connections, that's an intrinsic motivation. So basically, the idea is, where is the benefit coming from? Now, if it's extrinsic, it doesn't mean that you don't want it. I mean, you do want it. You're working for it. You're motivated to get it, but it's not something that's really coming from you. The reward isn't within yourself. The reward is outside yourself. Okay. And the intrinsic motivation is more powerful And it's something that you would do pretty much anyway. Like you don't have to kind of like work at being motivated to do things that you want to do that are intrinsic. Okay. So when we're talking about like really kind of like pushing ourselves or forcing ourselves or manipulating things so that we, to increase our motivation for something, we're really talking about more like extrinsic stuff. Not that you don't want the benefit, but it's not something that you really want to do anyway. It's not something that comes from within you, like, oh, I would really like to do this. That's something else. So one thing to think about with motivation is your goals. And that's really crucial, the goals, because you're motivated to achieve a certain goal. And that's what you have to keep in mind. And we're going to talk about, about that and the goals and what you should be kind of considering. But that's really the relationship. You're motivated or you're not motivated to achieve a certain goal. So if you want to get yourself motivated, there's three stages. Activation is getting yourself started. All right. So let's say your goal is to be more physically active. Okay. So you want to start a walking plan. Okay. So you've got to get yourself out there to start walking. How are you going to do that? All right. One of the things is James Clear would say, just do it, and he tends to say to start like with small. So you don't say, okay, I'm going to walk a half an hour a day, or I'm going to walk an hour a day. And like I'm going to go out, I'm going to walk 5 minutes, I'm going to come back. All right. You're going to set yourself to activate yourself. The biggest thing is just setting something that you can do and begin to do it. Okay. So that's, so you're starting your goal, you're activating, you're getting out there and you're actually doing something. Okay. So that's good. And then now different people talk about different things. Direction. So guiding yourself, like, okay, you've got this goal and you're determined and you've decided you're going to do it. How are you going to do it? All right. So your persistence, you're not going to be persistent. You're not going to maintain your motivation if you don't have some kind of a plan. And it could be with my walking, I'll use this walking model or example. You're going to walk, 5 minutes a day. And after 2 days or after, you're going to make it, 10 minutes. Whatever it is you've got, and you kind of have an outline of like how you're going to achieve this goal of yours. So you're guiding yourself along the way. All right. You're getting yourself started and then you're guiding yourself along the way. And the last thing in this particular model is maintenance. And this is the toughest part because this is where you have to keep going. And a lot of us say we're going to, I'd be motivated to go back to doing something. Well, basically we don't want to get to that position. We don't want to be motivated to go back. I got to be motivated. I have to be motivated to, to go back to cleaning my bathroom every week or whatever it is, what you really have to kind of consider is you've got to keep going with this. And again, I'm going to talk, but James Clear has something that I guess I resonate or something, but basically he sees that almost everything as a habit. And you start off like very small, but you don't lose the habit. So, and we're going to talk about keeping yourself on track a little bit later. But that's one of the things that, like to maintain this direction. Now, I've read something else, talked about 3 other components of motivation. So there's all kinds of models out there. And again, they talk about activation. I don't know if they called it the same thing, but basically it is the same thing, just getting started in the first place, which is the hardest thing. But once you have a goal, and we'll talk about goals, but you have to actually get out there and do it. And that sometimes is the very hardest thing to do. And they talked about persistence, continuing to put the effort forth, which is kind of what they had talked about in maintenance in the first model. Just keeping with it, doing what you need to do, and then they talked about intensity. And the intensity doesn't necessarily have to be the most intense, but different people with the same goal could be working at it at different intensities. So for instance, somebody who wanted to do well in school, you could possibly be doing, I'm going to read the chapter. I'm going to make sure I read the chapter. I'll answer the questions. I'll show up in class or whatever. Somebody else is kind of like more gung-ho. They're reading supplementary sources, or they're writing longer essays, or they're putting more. They're making it more intense. All right. That really doesn't. To me, that's a very personal thing. Okay. You kind of have to decide for yourself what is the most important thing, and what's the level of intensity that you want for yourself. So that's not something that we say, oh yeah, you're on track, you're not right on track. Different people are on different tracks, and they have a goal, and the goal may look the same on paper, but it's not really the same. It's one is willing, or it's the same goal, but one is willing to put in a lot more work, and will probably reap a bigger benefit. But that doesn't mean the other person's not successful at what they intended to do. Okay. All right. Let's see. Am I on the right page here? Yeah. Okay. All right. Mostly, I think people who come to something like this, a Zoom meeting like this, are looking for what can they do for themselves. Okay. So as we're going to talk about that. And I think that one of the most important things is to make sure that the goal is really a worthy goal. And one writer talked about a goal that, aligns with your values. All right. And I don't know that any of us would come up with goals that didn't really align with our values, unless it was like, I'm going to be a millionaire or whatever. And, really what is more important to you is your happiness in life, which doesn't always go with, getting out there and earning $1 million. So I think that that's something that, you have to, that's really an interior thing, and it's different for everybody. But you need to get goals that are important to you. It's going to be hard to stay motivated if the goal that you want, for instance, because the thing is, a lot of people think about these kinds of things in terms of like weight loss, or exercising, or that sort of thing. So what if it's like your husband thinks you should be skinnier? Okay, well, I'm happy the way I am. Then it gets to be, so maybe you're going to put in an effort for that, but that's not really a goal. That's not a goal that aligns with your needs, or your values, or your sense of self. So that may not be, you're kind of you're not going to get there, is basically what I'm saying, because, you're going to lack motivation because it's not a good goal in the first place. And keep it positive. This is interesting because sometimes we have a goal. For instance, let's say you want to do well on your job. You want to do well in your job. Okay, so I can earn more money, so I get the promotion or whatever, or I'm going to advance in my career. Fine. And that's extrinsic. It's extrinsic, but that's okay. Extrinsic motivation is fine. But other people are like, so I don't lose my job. They're kind of focused on the negative, like what possible dire consequence it could be if they don't do this. And it's really, if you want to succeed in something, it's really a much better idea to keep your focus on the positive. What's positive? So think about the benefits of doing this, not like what kind of catastrophe you're avoiding by doing it. And that's one way to, first of all, you feel better about what you're doing than if you're just worried about avoiding catastrophe. But that's kind of an important thing. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Just like I said before about, starting out your walking regimen by walking 5 minutes and maybe then 5 minutes back, and then you add a couple minutes on every day. The thing is that, if you start off, if you're like, I'm going to lose 10 pounds in a week, you might have a problem there, and then you get very discouraged. So, your overall goal might be the same. Your goal might be, let's say your goal is to lose 25 pounds. Okay, I got to lose 25 pounds. All right. But if your goal is to lose, like 10 pounds a week instead of like 2 pounds a week or 2 pounds a month or whatever, I mean, you're much more likely to reach your goal if you've made something that's going to be more reasonable and more accomplishable, I guess. I don't know if that's a word, but you know what I mean. Let's see. And I'm not so sure whether this is true or not, but there was a suggestion in the literature that you're more likely to accomplish something if you frame it as a learning goal rather than as a performance goal. So if you were to say, I'm trying to think of something that like maybe something that would be job related. Like if you were, I want to learn how to work this system, this new computer system or whatever, because, that it will help me, or, it will further my career or whatever, as opposed to how proficient you have to be with it in a period of time or something like that, where it's more of a performance goal. That, if you're framing something like you want to learn it, you're likely to do better. And I don't know that every goal lends itself to that. But I think that that's something that you should keep in mind. Like if you can frame it in terms of what you're learning, either learning about yourself or learning about, other people, or learning, some kind of a subject matter. I think that that's supposed to be very effective. Now, it's something I would ever have thought of. But I think that that's, good to keep in mind. I don't know if I think I've always probably framed goals in terms of performance and not in terms of learning, but going forward, I'm going to think about that. Okay. Monitoring your progress. Now, a lot of this, anybody who's ever been to one of these talks knows I'm a big believer in habits. And because a lot of things get done if you made them a habit. And this monitoring your progress kind of comes in with this too, because if you want to get something accomplished, like let's talk about walking, okay? Because that's the easiest kind of thing to relate to. If you put a star, just the kind of stars they had in school when you were a kid, the sticky stars on your calendar, every day you walk. And a person who did, Jerry Seinfeld gets a lot of credit for this technique. I don't think it originated with him, but I guess he has made it kind of famous. Don't break the chain. If you see those stars lined up on your calendar, man, you don't really want a day without a star, and it helps to keep your motivation high to monitor your progress, whether you're making a graph, whether you're putting stars on the calendar, whether you are filling in boxes on the, if you're doing something to indicate like your progress, I think that that can be very effective. If you have something concrete, and posted would help, on the refrigerator, on the calendar, on somewhere where you're going to see it all the time. I think that can be very helpful for you to say, yes, I am doing this. And it's kind of reinforcing. It can be a little discouraging if you're not, but you might say to yourself, I'll do better next week. I'll do better next month. I'll get, and you try to improve. So monitoring any behavior that you want to make your own, it can be very helpful. Boost your confidence. Remind yourself of the skills that you have, like why you should be able to do this. Very often, I think we look at something that, if we're not doing it now, or we can't do it, what's wrong with us, right? But that doesn't mean you can't do it. It means you're not doing it, but it doesn't mean you can't do it. And if you think about like why you can, if you emphasize the positive about that and think about why you should be able to accomplish this, why it might be tough, you can acknowledge any, problems that might arise, but you're capable and you can do this. One of the things that I read in conjunction with this idea was that if you have a goal, but you think you can't accomplish it, you're not motivated because you think you can't accomplish it, and you lack the confidence, think about why you lack the confidence. And are there skills you can build? Like, so now we're going backwards, right? Before you even try to do this goal, you're going to build up your skills in some area. And, my walking example doesn't really come into play here. But it might come into play with like some kind of a goal that you have for your work position, that there might be something that, I have a plan, I want to be able to do this, but at first I need to maybe get better at this other thing so that I can accomplish this goal that I have. So that's something to think about. If you're not feeling confident, why? I don't think I can do it because, well, then, maybe you should work on that first and then try to, tackle the goal. Pairing behavior. This is another thing that comes up when you talk about habits too. If you don't want to do something, pair it with something that you like to do, or pair it with something that you just do every day. So, when I put the washer in the wash machine, I'm going to do this. I'm trying to think of something else that would, or I'm not going to sit down in my chair and read the book, if that's your big thing that you really enjoy doing, until I, do 10 sit-ups, okay? Or something along that line. So you hold one out, your preferred behavior out until you do, whatever it is that you're motivated to do. All right. I say sometimes cut yourself a little slack. Sometimes people get so hung up on, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And, yes, we want to be a little gung-ho. But then if a day goes by and they don't, or they've missed an opportunity or whatever, well, then it's all over, So I think it's important for you to kind of to think about, yes, I messed up. I should have done this. I could have done this. I didn't. But tomorrow's a new day. And even if you have to tell yourself you're starting over, whatever it is, that if you, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, and give yourself a little bit of a break. Or like I'm an intermittent faster. Okay. So I don't eat between 8 p.m. and 12 the next day, as a general rule. When I go on vacation, I eat breakfast. You don't know what the day will bring. I enjoy a breakfast out. Yes, I have this thing that I do, but sometimes I can cut myself some slack. And I think that's something that, we have to, if you want to be successful, I think it's something you have to allow yourself to do. Not a lot. Otherwise you're sabotaging yourself. But if something arises, the situation's unusual or what, don't worry about it. Just the next day is a new day. And then another thing was scheduling the behavior. And that works for some people. Like some people keep a very careful calendar, diary, whatever, if you put in like at 3 o'clock, I'm doing this, they'll do it. Now, not everybody functions that way, but sometimes it's just helpful to say, this is the time I'm doing this. I'll do this every day at this time, or I'll do this 3 times a week at this time. Things will come up that may interfere with that, but for the most part, you're setting in your head, you're setting that time aside for yourself to do X, Y, and Z. So after lunch or at 1 o'clock, or I'm doing this. And that's, that's how you set you even if your day is revolving around that for a while you get your goal until you get your goal accomplished. And that's another thing that can be very effective, is having a particular time of day to do it. Okay. Now, anybody have any questions about what I've said? Any suggestions? Because that's a biggie. This group usually comes up with some suggestions. Okay. I think everybody's on vacation.
No, I'm hoping to hear more suggestions tonight because I have a problem
Actually,
with this.
what I was going to say now was to go to what you should worry about. Okay. And one of the things is to telling yourself that it'll be easy. If you have a goal and you're just, oh yeah, I want to do this, then yeah, it shouldn't be any problem. Okay. Well, you have to have a plan of how you're going to do that. And sometimes thinking it's going to be easy gets in the way of the plan, because then you don't really feel that you need to worry about it. And you have to be prepared, and you have to set yourself up. So that's an issue. It's like, don't think it's necessarily going to be easy, because it won't. And the other thing is, sometimes people do feel very gung-ho, very motivated. They're going to do this, they're going to get it. And they expect the improvement. They have this goal and they expect the goal to be achieved in a relatively short time. Doesn't always happen. It's not always not always that kind of not always appropriate. And some things, even if you work at them steadily, do take a long time to do. So that's something that you have to be aware of, that you have to kind of like, don't kind of say, oh, I'll be able to do this, in a month, or I'll be able to do this in 6 months, whatever, depending on the goal to achieve it fully, especially if it's some kind of a career move or something like that. You're going to have to, it can take quite a while, but you keep the goal in mind, and you keep yourself motivated with some of these other things that we've talked about, and you try to get it done.
Pat, I have a question for you.
Sure, yeah.
You're touching on something that I'm having a lot of trouble with right now, which is all these papers. So what happens is I'll set myself, like maybe I'll set a timer or a goal to go through this box or these folders. And the thing is that maybe I'll spend a couple hours and you can't see it.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
The reward would be, oh, I'm a little freer, or there's a little more room or something, but in the stuff I'm doing, you really can't see it. So what do you suggest? How do you reframe that one?
Well, I don't know how much space you have, because I know you've moved places, but I would say get yourself a box, even one of those banker's boxes, whatever. Don't throw the stuff out right away. Put it in the box. Watch it pile up, so that you can say to yourself, and then maybe even take a picture on your phone when it's full. And how many pictures do you have? Oh, I got 3 pictures of 3 full banker boxes. I got rid of all that stuff. So I don't know whether that would work for you, but that would be my suggestion, right? Off the top of my head, is that, you have to have some way for yourself to see, or take a picture of your file cabinet, and, you can take, when you take a picture a month from now, it will probably be, it look a little less cluttered. But that's the only thing that I can think of. But you're right, paper, because the thing is, especially if all this has been hidden behind drawers to begin with, and that's very often true. You may have trouble filing something because the files are so jammed.
Well, yeah, that's my other problem now. It's like it's moving off the floor into the file cabinets.
Oh, I see. You're going the other way here. Okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because these are still boxes from storage.
Okay, but the thing is, but that's the thing. You can't tell me that you haven't reduced some boxes.
Yeah, I've reduced.
Yes. Okay. So the thing is, it's not, you're not finished. Okay. But you are working toward your goal, okay? Because you want everything in the file cabinet or in the garbage, one or the other, or shredded, whatever.
More garbage. Yeah, I need more shredding and more garbage, definitely.
You want to reduce that pile of boxes. Yeah. All right. You are, like, you're getting there. I mean, maybe slowly, but it's not something a task like that going through files and what to eliminate and how many years worth do I save, or do I, whatever, or this is from, for myself, I remember it was like my mother's stuff. It was like, how long should I keep her records? How should I, and it's also decision fatigue, which we talked about in a previous session, where every piece of paper is a decision.
Okay?
Yes.
So it can be exhausting. But I would say once a month, once a week, whatever, photograph your pile of boxes.
Oh,
Okay. And you'll be able to see that you actually are reducing the number. You've gotten rid of some of these boxes. My husband is going through his he retired. He had his own law firm. He retired, and the boxes are stored in our garage. Okay, but he has been eliminating gradually what needs to be saved, what can go out, what needs to be shredded, and there's fewer boxes.
That's good.
So I think, it sometimes helps to have a record, like you may know in your head that there's fewer boxes. I got rid of 2 boxes, last month or whatever, but it may help you to take a picture.
You know what I didn't take a picture of, Pat, so I'll just tell you guys about it now, is that there was a storage closet in my garage here in the apartment building.
Mhm.
And I got out of it. I got rid of it.
Okay.
It was
That was
great, but
good.
I didn't take a picture of the empty one.
But keep that in mind. Like, it's not like it's slow going. Yes, it's going to be slow going because that's the kind of thing that it is, but you empty this, and you not only empty the storage compartment, you got rid of it. So that's
and I got $100 credit for it too.
That's even better.
Yeah. So the thing is that I think that, like you can look at your successes. And I think very often we look at the pile that still exists to take care of, and you want to shoot yourself, but if you think about how far you've come, I think that, pat yourself on the back and know that you're getting there, because otherwise what happens is you can give up. And if you give up, then, nothing's going to get done. Or, your kids are going to have to deal with this. That's what I always keep telling myself. That's very motivating for me. I don't want my kids to have to deal with all this stuff.
Right.
I've already heard that from them. When they go into my big storage unit, they say that, yeah, Mom, get on this because I don't want to do it. Yes.
Yeah. So I just think you should focus on what you've gotten done. Yes. If you stand around looking at what you still have to do, it's heartbreaking, right? But you know that you can get there because you've come so far.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
don't give up. Okay.
All right. I won't. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see.
Well, I just want to say I am motivated because I did finally call the veterans.
Uh-huh.
I had several bags for them, and
Uh-huh.
I said I had 4 plus. So, so I have to get another bag. But the fact that I called them, made the appointment, which you then have to keep,
Right. Yeah.
that's a motivation.
Yes. Good. Well, that's a motivation for a lot of us. Yeah.
Right.
The thing is, we always come back. This group always comes back to decluttering. We do.
Yes. Well,
And that's
after every one of these meetings, I'm always filled with, resolve.
yeah. Good. So I'm accomplishing something in my life here.
Right. Even it
All right.
doesn't always last very long, but
Well, yeah, I know that.
try.
I know that feeling too. Okay. One of the things I was going to say is, don't assume that if something worked for somebody else, it's going to work for you. Okay. If somebody tells you about the great way that they lost weight, or that they decluttered their house, or that they, think about whether it suits the way you operate, and different people have different methods and different ways of going about things. The end result might be the same, but you want to do it in a way that's comfortable for you. So some people, I'm sure you've seen, I haven't watched HGTV in a long time, but where they clean out the whole house and everything's on the lawn, and because they're going to remodel and they're going to get rid of something and put back. And I'm like, I could never. you know. My advice is always like one shelf at a time, or one, the most would be like one closet. Even then, I can't even imagine emptying a whole closet onto your bed or something. So I think that, you have to think about, but for some other people, it works much better to like see everything that they have, put it all in one place, see what they've got, and then, figure out, organize and put it back and whatever, in one shot. All right. It doesn't work for a lot of us, but it does work for some people. So, you have to think about what works for you, what's like more effective for you. Like I said, for me, I know it's, you work with a drawer or a shelf or a, whatever, but, think about what's the most effective there for you. And, you may have the same goal as somebody else, but the way you get there is different. Another thing is, and this is a little hard to touch on, but be aware of your own mental health, because sometimes a lack of motivation can be a sign of depression. Now, I know that sounds very dire. And that's not true of most of our, I don't want to do this. There's a lot of things. Do I really want to do this? No, I'll clean out that closet tomorrow or whatever. But for sometimes the fact that low energy or not wanting to do things or being reluctant to get, it can really can be a sign of, depression. So ask, just take your own temperature in all of this, because if that's the cause of your motivation, it's not going to be enough to, kind of like will yourself to do better. But that's not the case for most of us. I doubt that it's the case for us. But it's something that you should consider if it's continuing and if it's a real issue for you. Okay. Another thing, and then I'm going to just kind of go to I want to hear from you guys too, but I've read in reading about this stuff, I've read about different theories and all. And one of them talked about arousal levels, like I knew about basic needs and drives and that sort of thing, but like arousal levels. So that's for some of us, and I had a hard time, even because this wasn't too specific, I had a hard time kind of thinking about would be specific examples I could give you, because I'm not really coming up with any, but different people are comfortable at different arousal levels. Like I'm a low arousal person, I like to read, I do crosswords, I go for walks maybe or whatever. There are high arousal people who like, there are the people that are on the, the roller coasters when I'm sitting on the bench. So they need like a little more excitement in their life and all. And if you're a high arousal person, then you may need, like to motivate yourself in different ways from a person who is a low arousal person. And again, I'm having a hard time coming up with examples, appropriate examples maybe, but think about that if that plays into your life. I don't know that this is a high arousal group. But if you like excitement and you ride motorcycles and you go on roller coasters, you may need to like jazz it up for yourself to get yourself psyched to do something. So that's something else like to think about. Maybe that would help you out, work for you. Okay. I think that's pretty much it. I think I do have I will be sending out a handout with this information, but I'm curious to know okay, yeah, I think I'll cover that. What if there's anything that you want to talk about, anything that's worked for you, anything that's gotten you motivated to do something, I would love to hear it. I'll probably use it. Or if you're struggling with something, maybe the rest of us can help you out with something.
Invite people over. That'll get it.
I've done that. Yeah. In fact, I have something coming up on the 10th of September. I should get my yard in order for, because I'm having people over from the yard.
That's true. Nothing will put the fear of God into you more than having company. That's true.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. I've had a couple situations already, close calls of people that were either picking me up or whatever. And I thought, oh my God, what if they have
What
to
they
go
come
to
in.
the bathroom or something? What am I gonna
Oh
do?
yeah, I just have to run to the John before we go. Yeah. No, that I know that can be terrifying, right?
Yes, it was really bad. So yeah, that's actually what's motivating me right now. Like I've had several people say, "Oh, I want to come and see where you live," and I'm sitting there and I'm saying,
Oh, yeah.
"No."
A year from Tuesday. Yeah. But yeah, that's true. That is one way to get yourself motivated. If house cleaning or whatever, tidying up is your issue. But yeah, so that's and actually that's probably a good model to keep in your head. Like like what got me doing this. So maybe you could kind of think in terms of like with some other job. Okay, what can get me to do that job? Even if you set up a consequence for yourself, that if I don't get it done, then I can't go out to lunch for a month, or that would be me. I would say, oh, I can't go out to lunch for a month. Set up some consequence if you don't do it. But that's like a negative consequence. I do like to keep it positive if you can. To think about, oh, I'm just going to be staring at my shiny file cabinets with all the tabs on the same side, and like everything's so nice and neat and orderly. Everything in alphabetical order. But yeah,
The flip side of that, yeah, no, that's still, again, invite people over, or know you're going to invite. Like it would just be really nice at this point to invite a few people,
right.
that thought
Yeah,
about.
because that's if you're inviting them, they're not inviting themselves. That is it's a very positive thing, because
Right.
socialization is.
Yeah, you had mentioned that very
Yes.
early on tonight. And I think that that's absolutely true. And in my case, it's a major motivator.
Right. The other thing I'll say though about that is that sometimes we say, oh, we can't have and somebody, oh, it's not perfect yet. Well, it's never going to be perfect. So it can be motivating to you to get it better, but you can't put off things until they're perfect. So
Yeah. I mean, another motivator for me is to, I have more room to paint. The more boxes I get out of this second bedroom, the more room I have to do my artwork.
oh, that's great. Yeah. That's the very positive thing.
Like I can actually get to my easel now. I mean, I couldn't 6 months ago. So
You've done well.
yeah.
Well, you moved from a house to apartment, right?
Yes, a big
Yeah.
house.
So I mean, it's a tough move. Yeah. Yeah. So that's good. That's you. So you're making terrific progress.
Just
And you've got some strategies for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Gina just wrote she missed the point about socialization at the beginning.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just gonna say that when Gina, when we started, we were talking about different things that are motivating for people. And one of them is, social contacts. It's like an intrinsic, well, it could be even an extrinsic motivation where you want to please somebody else, or you want to be able to spend time with somebody else, or you want to be in with this in group or whatever. So socialization can be something that can be very motivating, and that that's basically but in Beverly's case, she's kind of using it kind of as a reward for herself. If she gets more stuff put away then or thrown out or whatever, and she empties the boxes, then she can have more people over. So I hope that helps. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
I moved back from my parents' house back to I've had this co-op for, well, it'll be 19 years on the 19th in Hartsdale. So I have to learn how to use my space better. I'm trying to get rid of things that I don't need anymore. I definitely have to go through the clothes and go through another 10 bags, probably, like I did when I was at my mother's house that I brought to her house.
Yeah.
And I do have to go through that paperwork. I have all these boxes that I'm like, why am I keeping all this paperwork? I understand it, the tax forms, but at some point I could get rid of some of them.
Yeah.
I just thought I would go
Just-
through them when I was at mom's house.
Yeah.
Uh,
Just one thing
now-
to say though about Gina is that with tax forms, I've read that, and because we've had this discussion about paperwork, something like 7 years with the supporting documents. You have to keep after 7 years. I don't think you have to worry about it, but for 7 years you should keep the actual tax forms and the supporting documents for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
7. You have to keep 7 years worth. Okay.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
But if anybody knows, you do, because you.
I think you give too much credit. I think you need a CPA for something like that. But anyway,
I'm trying to socialize, but it hasn't been. I don't know. I don't know what to do. I think I was better at it after my mother died, and I went to all these church groups, and I was like, oh, this church has some kind of dancing, and this church has Bible study, and I can join choir. And now, my sister and I have been busy emptying out my parents' house. Let's not talk about the male figure in the family who has not shown up to do a stitch of work, but
well, that's
he uses
not
the phone and
atypical.
like, okay,
Mhm.
but yeah, I want to keep in touch with people who, at least keep in touch. I know everybody's busy, who has moved,
Well,
who's
there's still,
passed on.
there's also still COVID considerations too.
Yeah, I tried to get in touch. I got in touch with a friend the other day. I figured, okay, let me text her. If I call, I don't want to disturb her. She was taking care of, she's married. She's got an empty nest, but she goes to her parents' house to take care of her father. So she has siblings and they take turns. And I felt like I was disturbing her by even texting, and and then I kept texting her, and she told me, I'm taking care of my father. I can't be disturbed when I'm, if he's going to get up and start walking around. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
sugar,
Yeah.
we
Well,
we spoke
basically-
about this. Yeah. This person that we used to work with, his mother passed away, and she says, oh, did you see that Rocco's mother died? I said, yes. I didn't want to tell her because I thought she'd already seen it, and I didn't want to talk about death because her parents are both old, especially the father. Sorry, I'm being morbid, but and I'm trying to keep in touch with people. Some people, like, even this one girl lady I've been friends with, we lost touch for up until tonight, I guess. But anyway, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Plus, I was stuck in the house all day looking for a plumber. I needed a plumber. Calling, and oh, when can you come? And then the super next door is giving me referrals, and I'm like, and then I'm finding out how much it's going to cost for just a shower body. And then luckily the super had the plumber downstairs in his home, in his house, in his apartment. And I said, he's telling me to make sure not to use the water in my sink today. I said, hey, just send him one up when, maybe, so I don't have to go searching for one.
How much
So I'm
is,
stuck in the house. I'm stuck inside.
what's a plumber running these days?
Oh, geez. They're very expensive. Well, one of them wanted almost $500. And I was like, he said, tell me, do you want it or not? I felt like he was all of a sudden Tony Soprano. Yes. Do you want it? I don't watch Sopranos, by the way, but I just felt like all of a sudden he was pushing me, and he was available coming next week. The guy, one of them wanted up to $500. He said, well, because it's an apartment building and it takes time to drain the water. If it was a house, it would be less money. Bullshit. It would be more if it was a house, not if it's an apartment. Oh, it's going to take more time in an apartment. You don't have a shut-off valve in your bathroom. Like, really? So the other guy who came upstairs after he finished with the super, because I was like, why do I have to go look for somebody if they have somebody here? I just have to pay them, because it's an inside problem.
I hate to cut you off, but we're getting kind of off topic here.
It was 300. Well, they're going to charge me 325.
Yeah.
And he's going to try to cut the tax out for me. I told him if I give you cash, will you save me some? Oh, I can cut some of the tax out. I cut the tax. Sorry, we're off topic. I mean, I thought
Right.
you
Okay.
know, somebody
I
asked me
guess-
something.
Sometimes you just need to talk.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean,
I guess the question is,
I was stuck. We were talking about socializing. I'm saying, here I am. This is not socializing. I mean, this is like you're stuck indoors. Could I have made these phone calls outside in the library? No, they probably would have told me to be quiet and leave, or, in a place where there are people walking or there's noise. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, yeah,
But,
and the thing is, we were all a little socially deprived because of the pandemic. I think there's a lot of
Pandemic,
things that, we haven't done for a while now. But anyway, so I guess just to kind of we are kind of getting to the end anyway. But I was wondering about wrapping this up. If anybody has anything that related to motivation that they wanted to talk about, anything where they need they need a little motivation, or they've had experiences of what motivated them, that would be probably the most helpful thing to the rest of us.
Oh, I have something that's not helpful, but maybe y'all can help me.
Okay.
I have the problem where if I feel like I don't have enough time to do something,
Mhm.
I can't launch myself into it.
Okay. Well,
Like Tuesdays and sometimes Thursdays, I work the later shift at the library,
Mhm.
and I'm always annoyed with myself that I don't utilize my home time as well in the morning, like as I could.
Mhm.
Like I was thinking I have to go to the optometrist and pick up my contact lenses, and I was going through my morning and the whole thing. And then I wound up saying to my husband, oh, forget it. I'll just go Saturday, because like I knew I had to be at work
Mhm.
at noon, and just getting just getting everything together so that I could get out there and get to Raymond's and get parked and get in and out of Central, of Tuckahoe Road and the whole thing, and then get to Crestwood. Like I just physically, like I have like this mental block, and it's not such a big mental block that like I can't get through my life, but it does, present me with, I feel like sometimes I waste time.
Mhm.
Like I know that I would never be able to do the Sunday jumble like before church, because I felt because the Sunday jumble's trickier, and I would never feel like I could really give it my full attention if I knew that I had to get out to mass. Then I would leave the jumble and I could come home and just like fly through it. But yeah, I always wind up frustrated with myself like Tuesday mornings, because I feel like I should have gotten more done.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if anybody else like has ever experienced that problem. Like if you feel like you have something waiting in the wings that's big that day that you need to be doing soon, you can't grab a hold of all those nuggets of time that surround us.
Yeah, Mary, I can totally identify with what you're saying. I mean,
Oh, thank
yeah,
you.
the other day I had like 2 hours on my calendar in the morning, but I had to be somewhere at 11, right? But I had 2 hours, and I thought, oh, I can work on this painting. I could do this, I could do that. And then I thought, oh, but I'm not going to finish. So, and I don't want to be late, and then, oh, maybe I should get dressed now, and all these things. And it was all about the fact that I had to be somewhere at 11. And so therefore I didn't do anything before 11. No, I totally.
I mean, I guess in a way it speaks well to the fact that we really want to honor like our standing commitments, like church, work, or whatever. But yeah, it is frustrating.
Well, it's also hard that we can't.
Maybe you could just enjoy a little bit, a slower morning.
I guess, but then it feels like every Tuesday morning winds up being a slower morning for me.
The other thing that's a problem for you. Like I don't know, but I don't know if you work the weekends or not. But the thing is, if you don't, if you just have like 2 weekday mornings a week, where the stores are open, or you can make the doctor's appointment, or you can have your hair cut, or whatever that you might not be able to do on a weekend. or it'd be harder to do on a weekend, then it's, you feel like you should do it.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes what you can do is like designate one day to knock something off before you go to work, like one of those days. Enjoy your coffee the other morning.
Right. Right. That's true.
It is a little bit I mean, sometimes it's a matter of like planning something, but I think the biggest issue is you don't know how long that. It's one thing if you're trying to get something done like after work,
right? Yeah.
But when you're trying to get to work, then it's like, okay, certainly you could leave early enough, but then the thing is, then then you're at work early, when you don't have to be there, like.
Well, I could sit in the car and everybody always makes you feel welcome at Crestwood no matter what time you get there. But yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's some of the uncertainty factor is right. Like if I commit to doing something before work and I don't really know how long it's going to take, then it takes me out of my control and then it could throw off the rest of my day.
Right. Yeah.
That is a really good point.
You don't want to be the person coming in late to work. Yeah, it's kind of an issue. The only thing is, like, if you had something to do that was in your own neighborhood, and maybe that would be like a different story, where you'd be going back to the house or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's, that I don't think that's so much a motivation issue, but it is kind of a scheduling issue and a kind of a
definitely an organization.
The only thing is that you could say, well, if I got to work early, I'd sit in the break room and I would do X, Y, and Z, something else that had to be, like for yourself, not
right.
But
right. The thing that's weird is that I don't feel that way when I'm at work.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like and I don't know if Z's going to hear me say this or not, but like, I feel like when I'm at work and there's things to do, or like if there's something coming up that I can help with, I feel like I'm better at utilizing like the little bits of time, but maybe that's because like I'm already there, and I'm like essentially safe and like not like I'm unsafe, but like I'm already like ensconced in the day. Right. I guess it's like that traveling element that kind of like unhinges my plans.
Well, you know why? Because it's unpredictable.
And,
and like I said, but if you had a plan for the time. For instance, you've got to allow enough time to, like, for instance, to go to the optician. I've been there, and the same place you go, and sometimes like you're not sure how long it'll be before somebody can talk to you or take care of you or whatever, and again, the parking is an issue, and traffic across Tucker Road. But the thing is that if you can plan something for yourself, like a job that has to be done, that you could do like when you got to work before you started work, then maybe you'd feel better about it. If you ran out of time, you didn't have time, well, you'd still be on time for work.
Yeah, that's true. That's
and
true.
The little job that you were going to do, or the book you were going to read, or the hem you were going to take up, or whatever, you could just that could be for another day or something.
Right. Yeah, I get it. Framing is key. Maybe I just need to like have one, successful Tuesday morning before work, and then I'll figure it out. I just got to get one under my belt.
Well, the thing is, a lot of it is just kind of thinking like, what's really bothering me about this, and why can't I get this, and then you have to find something that would like motivate you or take care of the issue that's keeping you from getting it done,
Right.
So, but it's always easier to stay home and have another cup of coffee.
Well, lately, Tuesday mornings have involved a lot of chasing the dogs around the house and trying to keep the outdoor plants alive. So there's like constant watering and shifting things around. So maybe that's part of the problem too.
Well,
I get derailed.
I think that when somebody gets to work, there are certain things that you have to stick to those things, because at home, this happens, this comes up, and then something else has to be done. So you get more, like more work added to your pile for the day. Because I notice it, okay, I'm working on something, and then, okay, something else comes up and something else comes up, or my eyes are averted to something, you know, oh, I have to check that, or, oh yeah, let me, you know, there was a defrosted chicken in my refrigerator that I brought from my mom's house that I said, you know, I want to defrost. I did that at like 11 o'clock at night because I said it's cooler, and I was watching TV anyway, so I don't usually do that, and it was good therapy for me because I like to cook and gets my mind off hearing the noise from upstairs. It sounds like they're constantly they're walking in a military camp. It's driving me crazy. There's I don't know what to do about it. And you know, they're carpeted. Supposedly 80% of their apartment is carpeted, but you know, you still hear tick, 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 tick. I think that they think this is 24-hour, you know, Planet Fitness or 24-hour fitness, and they're dropping things. Boom! I'm like, okay, we drop phones, but it sounds like barbells are dropping.